Hello, hello, hello. Neil Sheth here, and welcome to How Do You Make Money, where I interview entrepreneurs and talk about how they make money by breaking down their product, marketing, and sales strategy. Today, we're going to be talking to Rebecca Haw, who is a professional ballerina and two-time business founder. Rebecca has been a ballerina since the age of 2 and is now dancing for a German state theatre, whilst also running CODA Digital Media and the Audition Educator Agency. So welcome, Rebecca. It sounds like you're really busy.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So tell me, let's start here. How do you make money? Tell me how you came to where you are today.
Okay, so career aside, ballet, it'll come up in different discussions, but you know where I am now with the businesses and that side of me making money was actually originally out of necessity. My first contract in the professional industry, I was paid €350 a month. Couldn't afford milk at the end of the month, let alone like a flight home or anything like that. And so it was out of necessity. So whenever my off season was, I would work in a pub or a waitress or whatever else. But I very quickly come to the realization that that's not the only way I, could make money. Equally, it's hard labor. You have to be in a specific location, specific time. So I was like, okay, I loved designing websites. I'm not talking coding or anything, but just designing websites. I had been doing it for myself since I was about 16. I did a few for friends, family, things like that. And very quickly, I found a need which started in my industry and then branched out to other artists, musicians, and then wider and wider and wider. And I could scoop a decent amount of money to design a website for someone. Nothing complex, no full e-commerce or anything like that, but everyone needs a website, in my opinion, or should have one.
Sorry to interrupt you, but while you talk, for those watching this video, I'm going to be putting together this presentation to summarize how Becca makes money, and then we're going to show you what that flow and all the products looks like, and that's the plan, and hopefully we get there. So for those watching me going, why am I looking at this screen? That's fine. So sorry, Becca, carry on.
Not at all, not at all. So it started with web design, and I did that for the years I was living in that country with very, very low salary. I then moved to Germany and joined the company here, with different periods of unemployment or low salary. And so this kept me going through without me physically having to, be in the UK to be a waitress, language and whatever else. And so by the time I got to Germany, it kind of branched out then into social media, other, branding projects. I actually ran the social media team at my ballet company for a year. It was kind of beta testing for them. They never put any emphasis on it, no focus on it. And so I led a team of us for that for a year. And, the house is huge. I'd imagine around 500 employees. So that was a big job, big undertaking, and also a great first dive into social media branding, management and strategy, and then operational as well. And within that year, I founded CODA Digital Media Services. So CODA stands for Consultancy Operations and Design Agent. CODA is also the best bit of the ballet. Mm-hmm. If you know that kind of thing in classical music.
I have no idea.
No, and no one does, but I like that.
I do like that. It's subtle, isn't it? It's like,
yeah, no one knows, but I know.
Got it. And
so that's when, I founded that business. And so now I still do those kinds of things. I'm very choosy. I am running this alongside my career, which, of course, the last year, I've had plenty more time for the businesses. But, that will chop and change. And I've structured it very strategically so that at any point, I can pull back on the amount of projects I'm on and the amount of clients I have, and then push a bit more when I have the time to. But this is all setting me up for my retirement, which, is not 60 for me. It could be 3 to 5 years if my body keeps it up. But so it started out a necessity and is all preparing so that as I hit my early 30s, I have got businesses and an income and interest and purpose and all those things, especially coming out of such a consuming career. The second business was founded beginning of lockdown, and that is an agency for classical dancers. Now, as a classical dancer myself, I struggled a lot auditioning. It took me a good 2 years to get my first contract and a good 2 years of hunting to get my second one. And so there was definitely a need there. You know, the schools and things like that are very ill at educating. You know, everything's in the training side and there's nothing for post, you know, training years. And so I built an agency. You know, in classical ballet, there is no such thing as an agent, a talent manager, a headhunter. There's no Indeed.com, there's nothing. So I am building it. I have started off with educational services for the dancers, and I'm currently on that end of it. And again, it's slowly building so that with my retirement, I can then take on the employer side of things as well. So it would be a full-fledged agency. So that's how and why and
love it.
Going.
Love it. Okay, so so far I've got a digital marketing agency, if that's how you would explain it, CODA Digital. Yeah. You've got the ballerina career, that's how you also make money. The classical dance agency.
Yeah.
Where does Clubhouse fit in that?
So I started my blog, The World by Becca, back in 2013.
Yeah.
So I have been blogging. I have also been on YouTube as a YouTuber for quite a few years now. All sorts of different content. You know, I try not to have it all ballet, but I have a backstage series called the Stage Door Diaries. And so I take people backstage during a performance, everything from entering stage door to the bows. Anyway, with the blog, this is how my personal brand started developing. Blog, YouTube, a bit on the Instagram, although I don't spend a lot of focus on it. I do have for clients, not for myself necessarily. And so this is where my personal brand started coming about. And, you know, with my profession, but also, you know, my strategic thinking on the business side of social media, you know, even though my followings are not vast on any particular platform, I have been working with brands for years on partnerships or sponsorships and all that kind of thing. And I'm very intrigued by the influencer marketing space, very, very intrigued. Have I cracked it myself yet? No. However, I am still pulling in those, you know, that work and that money. Get onto Clubhouse I'm not one to jump on the new app. Like I just got onto Twitter and I'm just getting into like scrolling and like, you know. However, I heard about Clubhouse from a YouTube channel that I follow, give me updates all the time. I heard about it like early January, and, you know, invites were few and far between. You know, there seems like they're everywhere now, but for weeks, you know, I was speaking to everyone, you know, do you have an invite? Does your sister in a different country, do they have an invite? Like looking for an invite. And actually it was like late January, it was some business Facebook group that I'm in, actually Money Manifestation Facebook group.
Okay.
And, you know, they were talking about it on there and I just put a comment like, oh, I've got FOMO, like I can't get in. And someone I've never met before, don't know, never spoken to, were like, I've got an invite, come on in. So get in. I didn't waste that first week. Like I didn't. Day one, I was up on stage, I was on calls, all the networking. It also coincided with a 2-week hard home lockdown, even for training. So fab. That can, you know, and that continued. Anyone who's been on Clubhouse knows that you go through many different phases. I call it the 4 phases. You know, you've got a week of like, what on earth? Like switching between spending all your time and no time. Then you get into, you know, addiction phase, all-nighters. The next is the FOMO phase. You know, if something else going on in real life, you're like, and then you get to burnout.
Yeah.
But
is it making money for you though?
Well, my first, basically, yes. My first one, I was on the app less than 6 weeks before I got my first offer.
Yeah.
and it's an open wide space, and there were very few people to ask what the going rate was for pro moderating or expert speaking, especially on Clubhouse. However, there is plenty of money in influencer marketing, and this was the first one was a person, the owner of a big brand, but it was the person employing me, not the brand necessarily.
Mhm.
And so I did some research. I also know who they had spoken to, and pitched a gut-wrenching fee. Your stomach flips a little bit when you sent it. Accepted straight away. Could have gone higher. Doesn't matter though. It made me uncomfortable enough.
Yeah.
So that was fine.
I've got to ask. Can you share what that fee is?
320 euros per hour.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's impressive. To pro moderate.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the ballpark was between 250 and 1,000 for an hour. I also knew who they had spoken to, so I know that they got that figure. So I was like, a bit outrageous for me, and what I would deem appropriate on the app at the time with the following things. It's not about the following.
Yeah.
It's about your skill. Went in and was accepted right away. So.
And how often do you run that for?
It varies between once a week.
Okay.
1 week it's been 3 times a week. Okay. And you know what a Clubhouse hour is, it's not an hour.
Okay,
so
got it.
I did that very specifically. Generally we don't say charge by the hour, like we don't do any of that, because there's so much more than the hour that you're specifically spending your time on. However, for Clubhouse, there's not an awful lot more. Like, I prepare the analytical tools, and I prepare scripts or drop-ins and things like that, but it doesn't take all that long. And then it's just the time when you're there. But I did it very specifically because a Clubhouse hour is not an hour.
That's really impressive. Okay, so we've got those 4 things now. I didn't know that. This is, we were talking about in the beginning of this, just before we got started. I was like, I'm really intrigued, and I'm glad you shared that. So thank you for the transparency. So I've got the 4 things now. Before I just drill into each one, can you give us a sense of your business? Where are you in the per year range? Are you below 6 figures, above 6 figures, 7 figures? Where are you, or even more than that?
I'm below 6 when especially because I only count the businesses and the influence marketing. Like if I take ballet and my core salary, I'm below 6 at the moment.
Got it. Okay, so you're taking okay, so fine. So you've taken your career out, and that's
salary.
Yeah, because you're still working, you're doing that, and then you're running these businesses. Okay, so just before we move on to the marketing and where your customers come from for the business side of things, I'm looking at this screen. I will show you this screen and the people watching this later on. So I just want to form it, and then we'll open it up. So looking at CODA, give me a range of how much you charge. Where do you start? Where do you go to? Is it on a retainer basis, or is it someone going, hey, I just need a website designed, and that's obviously a one-off project? So give me a flavor of what your fees are.
So there are very few clients that I am on retainer with, because my schedule varies so much. So I need as much control as possible over that. Yep. So, web design tends to be project based, and I try and keep it like that because people get too fussy and it'll go on. So I've put many different things. And so my base rate at an absolute minimum for a website design, I don't claim to do any SEO. I don't claim to do anything else. Website design would start absolute base minimum at 500. And I count that. I count in that 10 hours of me working on that design. The reason I do that is then I go on to an hourly rate, because anyone who's done anything for anyone in design, they'll think they're happy with it. They get to the fight and they're like, okay, I've got 12 more edits. I'm like, cool, hourly rate now. So once I've delivered the time that I know that I can complete that task in, and then we move on, because it always happens. So I learned those lessons there. So an absolute base of 5 and has gone up to 1.2.
Yep.
Those figures are actually in pounds. I should have stick to one currency, but whatever.
Oh, okay, that's okay. I'll change that to pounds.
So that's like a web design. And then if I'm on, you know, a retainer for managing a social media management account, for example, I would look at least 80 an hour. And again, I do it specifically there for an hour, because as soon as you say this for a week, or this is for the month or whatever, I know we try to steer away from times, but when people are paying you by the hour, they're much more decisive on their decision. So that's an idea for that one. A strategy call, depending on the length of time, would be anywhere from 80 to 150. You know, if someone wanted me to look at a certain account, a certain website, pick it apart, correct it, and, you know, but that's not me doing it. That's just for that consultancy, let's say. So those are some ideas there, and those are the 3 main areas in which I work within the digital media company.
Love it. That's super simple. I'm going to go over to the classical dance agency, but
yeah,
just knowing what you do and how you do things, I do feel like you're probably undercharging on the design side of things.
100%.
So yeah, get that number up. Okay, let's move over to the classical. Yeah, exactly. Get up, and then classical dance agency. So
wait till you get these numbers. You thought those numbers were low.
Well, first of all, tell me this: how do you work with people? Just don't go too much into detail, because I want to keep this. But how is it someone works with you on the classical dance agency?
All online.
Okay.
Of course, being founded in lockdown as well. Currently all online. There are ebooks, email databases, and a big course. There is the option for one-to-one. However, I turn that on and off based on my schedule. I could do that in lockdown. I can't do it right now. I could do it in the summer though, but I couldn't do it next week, you know. So that's how. Future, you know, if we're talking 5-10 year plan for that business, I will be getting into the schools and the theatres to educate both sides. And there will be more in-person work there, but right now online.
I love that. And okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now scare me with the numbers.
Okay, let me preface, because any business mentor, anyone I speak to, they're like, your numbers are too low, of which I am well aware. It's still in its first year, and so it's still relatively beta, and there will be an increase in September as it hits 1 year old. Equally, I know the industry and who I'm targeting like the back of my hand. They were me. And yep. I also understand what I could have afforded or couldn't have afforded in that time. I know not everyone's the same, and there are always extenuating circumstances of both regions. And so I charge under 30 for any of my ebooks, yep. 15 to 36. For my email database is currently at 40.
Sorry, what do you mean by email database? What are you selling there?
The 10 years that I've been professional, the contacts, the email addresses that I have.
That's valuable. So you sell the ebooks for £30. You sell
ranging. Some of them are they start at 15, but up to 36. Yeah.
Okay, and then the email database you sell for how much?
40.
Interesting. Okay, and then
euro prices. Sorry.
And does that include? Okay, so we're now back to euros. Okay, and then you're making my life easier, aren't you? Here. So, and then you're back, and then the courses. Is there a separate course here as well?
Yeah, there's a separate course which is currently at 240 and will be increasing in September.
Okay. Have you packaged it all in one, like as a bundle by any chance, or is it separate?
If you take the full course, there's not really a need. The email list comes with the course, and there's not really a need for the ebooks because I teach all that myself within the course.
Got it. This is so cool because there's multiple businesses, there's multiple ways of working with clients. So I love the idea that actually this content, this interview is going to have like some versatility, some variety with people considering their business and how to work with people, because you sound like you've kind of been through a number of ways of working with clients.
Yeah, and also the different, I think people are very close-minded sometimes with how they can make, this is some of the basics now, but I mean, I have a full list of like all different ways that I've, and there's still, every time I speak to different people, whether it's digital media or the agency, they give me a new idea, can you do some private coaching with me? I have no interest in teaching, but sure, I could spend 2 hours correcting you, no problem.
Yeah, it just makes sense. And you've given me your Clubhouse numbers, so that's amazing. So I've got your money streams in this presentation, and now can you just give me an idea of out of all these businesses, what's your top one that brings in the revenue? I'm guessing it's the CODA Digital, apart from the career, obviously.
Yeah, that's out of it. CODA, unless it's a really hot month on Clubhouse.
Okay. So we want hot months on Clubhouse. Okay, great. So when
Basically.
I see you all over Clubhouse, I know.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's on fire.
My off season is coming up, Neil. So 12 hours a day.
Okay. Oh yeah, go for it. Why not, huh? Yeah. So okay, Becca, give me. Is there a particular story that comes to mind where you made your biggest sale, apart from the one on Clubhouse that you described? Tell the audience. Tell me how that came about and what that actual number was.
So I'll try not to give personal details away, but
okay. Feel free to give personal details if you want.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean my person, I meant the client.
And I meant that as well.
I know. You've got my rates. Summer, I was probably about 21, so I had been working in Bucharest, Romania on that 350 euro salary for about 2 years now.
Right.
And had started dabbling in the web design. I had done one for my dad, who is actually director of music for the British Army. And so, lots of artists, musicians, that people like that at his disposal and at my disposal that all need a personal profile website. Everyone needs it, 100%. It's like having a CV, just like there's no option. And there was a musician who was brought to me through his manager and agent. And yeah, I was in London for the weekend, and we met in some beautiful hotel lobby, drinks, and I'd actually, made sure I actually dressed like for the occasion. Probably my first in-person, deal meeting, I would imagine, I think, definitely. So we start talking through, and I tried to get all of the tea I could on what the budget was and what rates and things like that. This was the first big sale, and it was also like the highest paying one as well. So we start talking through, and I've got, my diary with some like notes written and different things that I could go into based on how the conversation was going. And they were like, so what would your rate be for this after we've discussed everything that we were doing and things like that? And I went in top. I had 1,000 written on my pad there for my top. And they were like, well, we have 3. So, and that was it. I was like, you've just tripled my price when I already said,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I say I don't know what the thought process was behind there. This is where I can be very, very valuable, especially in my industry, because there is, the agency for the classical dancers is a major gap that I am filling, major. But the digital media, which is why I actually founded the company, is very, very needed, wanted, and doesn't really exist, because not anyone can choose photography or videography for things in the fine arts other than a fine artist, or it has to go through people to be approved and things like that. Terminology, there's so much about it, and I know it like the back of my hand, but I also know the business side, the intellectual side, whatever it is. And they needed me to do it. Basically, they had sponsors behind it because of who he was and what was about to happen, awards or whatever else. And so, it wasn't their money they were playing with, it was the sponsors. So I said one, they said we got three, and that was it.
That's a fab story. So you're 21 years of age. You're in this hotel lobby with your top figure of 1K in the back of your head, which at the age of 21,
I was incredibly uncomfortable with. I think I was probably generally charging that 300 there.
Wow. Okay, so you've more than tripled that price, and you've given them the 1K price, and they've come back with 3K.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do that evening when you came home or wherever you were?
I can't tell you. I think I started working on the website. Honestly.
Did you? Yeah, stressed out. Like, I need to get this done. I need
Not
to
even, but like the excitement.
Yeah.
And I always try to go straight into design. When something like that happens, you're excited, the figures have been like bounced around. That's when I'd start designing immediately, because that's when I'm most excited about it as well. And whenever I'm designing a website, I always do 3 samples for people as like starting off, to get a vibe of, more of an idea of their design, because they can do any kind of questionnaire they like. You present it to them, that's not what I wanted. So I tried to give 3, and that's why I go into design straight away. So yeah, the geekiest answer ever.
Do you know what? It's funny.
I celebrated by starting the project.
Yeah, when I asked you that and you told me your answer, I just went into design. I think that's exactly what I would do as well. I think I would just have a slight panic about, oh crap, I need to actually make sure this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's all in your head at that point, and you've got this energy. Yeah, I think that's what I would have done as well.
Also, the longer you go, like that fades a little bit. And that's why I also like project-based, because it's always exciting. It's always new.
Love it. Okay, so we're now going to talk about where your customers come from. So give me your top 1 or top 2 for CODA Digital. Where does your CODA customers come from?
Word of mouth.
Okay.
And sometimes social media. More Clubhouse recently, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what's interesting with CODA, as in people hear me talk about it, but CODA, interestingly enough, doesn't have a website that anyone would find, and doesn't have a social media presence. Specifically because I have to be so selective with the amount I put on my plate and the amount of requests and things like that. It's all gearing to my retirement from ballet. And so that's when it will be fresh out the gate. But actually you couldn't really find anything on it if you'd have to really dig to find anything.
And what about your classical dance?
Industry contacts, but social media. Like, okay. I'm targeting the target audience for the educational services, they're social media. So I hang out where they hang out.
So give me an idea, when you say social media, even for CODA, what platforms we're looking at?
CODA Clubhouse, because that's where I talk about all of these things.
Yeah.
I'd imagine I've got 1 or 2 clients from Instagram, but just because I've been talking about it on stories. So social media for CODA, Clubhouse, social media for Audition Educator. There's an Instagram presence, like an actual account. I talk about it on YouTube, and then I target mum Facebook groups on Facebook to get parents.
That's smart. You're getting in front of the parents.
Well, as also like the better it's best for them the earlier they know these things. And the earlier you go, the more frequently the parents are paying. And actually with the basis salaries in ballet, the parents are probably paying.
And people watching this are going to wonder, but how do I promote myself in a Facebook group without getting kicked off? What's your tactic?
Target the Facebook group of the the problem you're solving or the question you're answering. And that seems niche AF, sorry, but niche. But that's what it needs to be. So if I go into a ballet auditions Facebook group and it's predominantly going to be parents, like, what's this? You don't say anything about yourself. You answer their questions, solve their problems. Oh, does anyone know a website for this? Comment, this one. Does anyone know what metric I should be putting height and weight on the CV? Answer. You do that enough. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. You don't have to spend your life on there, but you'll be surprised because it's not just the person you're commenting to, it's everyone else in that group who will see that. And yeah, that's how I would do it. You don't need to talk about yourself. Like, they will come.
And people will find your website, they'll buy your ebook, your course, your email database without you interacting with them.
Yeah, and I mix it between replying from the agency Facebook page, so it says Audition Educator Agency, and me, which if they clicked on me, they would see also directly Audition Educator. So if they're clicking on me, they actually see that my profile's a professional ballerina anyway. So they're like, okay, she knows what she's doing. She's obviously got a job. And then they go on to my page, they see the agency, or I go straight from the agency and they click straight away. But I also don't want to seem spammy by doing that.
Got it. Okay, so this is awesome. So I've got industry contacts, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook mums group for the classical dance agency. I think all of those are great tactics. The obvious one for Clubhouse pro moderator income is Clubhouse itself. Is there something you were going to add?
PR for the audition agency.
Tell me more.
I got myself a full feature spread in all prime audition month in the biggest dance magazine for this side of the world anyway. I did that. Sorry?
You paid for that?
No. I didn't need to, because what I'm doing is so necessary and so not in existence. So as soon as I said, I sent them an email, this is what I'm doing. Yeah, we did I think the interview was like 3 hours long.
Wow.
That.
And can you tell, did that bring in customers?
Yes. I coincided it with a launch 2 weeks later. Like, nice. All very, strategic. I knew when the publication was coming out. It was coming out last week of December. So I made it then 3 weeks, because I knew the postal magazines would go out to all those parents, 1st or 2nd of January. And then they would need, a week or two to be like on the website and following things like that. And that's when I'm in launch period, but before launch date. So they're like intrigued, ready-ish, and then launch date, and then it closed after, because I was still doing it live at the time. It did so well that I had to automate it all much quicker than I thought. I thought I would still be doing it live, fully delivering the course live now. I thought I'd have till summer, record it, and then it would be semi without me. And I had to do it in February. I had to automate it in February.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about that, because I've got so many notes here. I'm gonna reveal this in about a couple of minutes, but let's just make sure I've got everything right. So I've got customer sources now for each of the income streams, where customers are coming from. I'm looking at your sales strategy now. So when a CODA customer shows some interest and they get in touch, what is your sales strategy? Just high level. Is it getting them on the phone, having an initial discussion, or is it something else?
Rarely do I do anything sales calls.
Okay.
Rarely ever.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, when they come to me, they're coming to me not to see if they want my service. They're coming to me because they only want me to do that, or they only want my opinion on that. So I don't actually do. If I do jump on a call, then initially it's a paid strategy call.
Okay.
So I do a lot of that vetting before.
Got it. So you're essentially conversing with them on email. You've got the price. They've agreed. Bam. Here's an invoice.
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll say email mainly, and then
I'd only be on the phone with someone if I knew them already.
Okay. All paid. I'm going to put all paid strategy, because that is something People do. And then the classical dance agency, that was interesting because you talked about launch. So I'm guessing when you look at the products that you're selling for the classical dance agency, that launch refers to the course, the €240 course, correct?
Yeah. So as I was doing it live, it was, a launch. I did 3 of them live. So it was a launch every kind of 3 months. So I did a beta launch back in August.
Yep.
I did the first paid launch end of October, I think it started, early November. And then I coincided the second one when it was getting a bit of traction with the article for January. And a combination between how well that went and my uncertain schedule. I live and work in Germany, so I'm used to getting a year's schedule with days off and evenings and all of that a year in advance. And we haven't had any of that. I know it's luxury, but I couldn't plan like a week ahead. So I couldn't plan the next launch. I didn't know what I was doing on Monday, on a Friday, let alone I couldn't plan something for April because I didn't know what evenings I would have free, or ballet dancer struggles. But so a combo of my schedule and how well it went, I just did 3 live and 1 was beta, and then automated. Well, semi. It's not
okay.
really.
And just talk me through the automation roughly. So people show interest, they join some sort of waiting list, email list?
It's open fully now, so I don't close it at the moment.
Okay, so they just purchase from a landing page? Okay.
Purchase from a landing page of which there is any information you could ever need. I am contactable and some of them do, but often they don't need to. If they've come from Instagram, I've probably answered all their questions because I spend a lot of time on the stories with the question boxes and in DMs and things like that. When I say a lot of time, I would say a maximum of an hour total per week.
Okay.
So, buy from the sales page, all those, all the things that they need to get hold of is all completely automated. So the thank you email has got, everything to get onto the membership section of my website, which I built myself. I built out the entire course and members area on my website. Proud. And then they get, they get the login for the private Facebook group and they get all the other downloadables there. And then it's all also built onto the website. So they start, with the welcome, it's all leads them through and what downloadable they need with where they are. It's done as a 6-week course.
Yep.
It's available for a bit longer, but I deliberately didn't give it lifetime. Because people will graduate, need this, and then 3 years later, they'll need it again. 3 years later, they'll need the information again, and it's constantly updating. The only live thing that is me now is any contact, which is very, very minimal. I'll explain that in a minute. I do a live Q&A monthly. That's it. So I do that so that I'm not getting loads of DMs with questions. And equally, anytime I get asked a question, I then put that in the course. Like I answer it in, like I add it in. So then, the questions get fewer and fewer and fewer. I have people coming to the live. I had one on Saturday and one woman was like, oh, I just came to hear the other questions. I didn't have any questions.
Okay, so that sounds pretty hands off. Okay, so we've got, I guess you were talking about the product there. The product largely is built, is ready to go. You'll do lives here and there, but essentially people they show some interest, they go on the landing page, and then they're buying directly, or they're slipping into your DMs and then having a conversation. You don't spend much time, and then they'll go back on the landing page, boom, and they buy. What about the Facebook mums groups where they show some interest? Do you friend them? Do you start a conversation over Facebook Messenger? Or do they then just go to your page, your main ballerina page, your classical dance page, and then they'll show interest there by getting in touch via Facebook Messenger on the page?
I would say it's half-half. I don't send them a follow. I try not to, especially when if they're coming to my personal Instagram, I try not to, because equally I want the option of, turning one account off when I want to and things like that. Half-half, honestly. So, if that conversation's gone well on the Facebook group, for example, or they've liked it or something else, I will do a bit of stalking. where are their son or daughter training, what age are they at, are they second year, are they about to graduate, what company. Get as much information as you can, which takes a matter of seconds, sadly. And then I will go into Facebook Messenger, send them a message. I really hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions, or I completely had this issue as well. Again, not pitching, like still not pitching. Wait for that conversation to go, oh, what company are you in? What do you like? Then it will go in. And I'll test the waters, you know, if they're intrigued, then I'll pitch earlier. But if not, I don't need to. And then half of them, you know, I'll just get the notification of like, oh, you've had someone like, and they've just flat out gone and bought like all of it, and I've never seen their name before.
This is amazing. Let me share my screen. Let me describe what we have here. So let's open this up. This is how Becca makes money today. So Becca, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have your face. I chose the one with the color, and we have a dollar bill. So Becca has 3 different products. She has her CODA Digital. Let's put that in here, which is her digital marketing, digital media agency. She has her ballerina career. Let's bold that one. And then she has her classical dance agency, as well as being a Clubhouse pro moderator. Her customer sources, where her customers mainly come from today, is word of mouth and Clubhouse for CODA. She's also working, which is impressive because you've got, you know, a career and you're doing so many different things. And then with the classical dance agency, you have a combination of, you know, industry contacts, Instagram, YouTube, people finding you through the Facebook mums group. This seems like a really popular one. And then having a full feature spread, which, like, as you mentioned, if they're interested in what you offer and they need it, then you don't need to pay for it. You just need to put a compelling story and kind of show your credibility, right? And then, you know, Clubhouse being obviously the main source of where your Clubhouse revenue has come from. How does Becca make sales? What does that sale look like? That process of, sorry, not make sales. What does that sales process strategy look like? Very simple. Becca does not get on the phone. That was very clear, right? If you're going to get me on the phone, then you know, you're going to pay me for a paid strategy, or I know you're really hot and I know you're going to buy from me. I love that. I'm always looking at ways of optimizing my time. I've put my image in. And so emails, conversations is what I'm getting from you, Becca. The paid strategy we just talked about. And then the classical dance agency, you've got a landing page, you've automated the funnel so you can buy straight away. You'll get a thank you email with all the details to join the membership. That's totally hands off, right? And then to deliver the course, you mentioned doing some lives. Why not? You know, create a bit of intimacy to get people going, yeah, this isn't just fully automated. And then you've also having conversations with people via DMs, and this, you know, if they're unsure, I'm sure if you get a bunch of the same questions, you'll probably just take those questions and drop it in your landing page so that the copy is just ever enhancing, so that you're getting less and less DMs over time. And then, you know, with the Facebook group, with the mums group, it sounds like that, you know, where the question's relevant, their child's in your target range where you can help them, you'll just kick off a non-salesy conversation. And if they show interest, then you will get into it. And then I've just put Messenger down below for the Clubhouse, because I'm guessing it was just a message back and forth where you had to give a quote. So Becca, have I summarized that in terms of how you make money today?
Yes. This is what I've come to as well. There've been, you know, I've got a list here of many other little things that I have dabbled with, but these are the ones that I am most interested in, the ones that, you know, are the amount of effort that I want to put in that also piques my interest versus, you know, the return on investment, you know, for my time. And so I've tried many other bits and bobs, but this is
yeah, I mean some entrepreneurs and business people will be looking at this and going, wait, Becca's got a career, and then she's in a way running 3 different businesses, although Clubhouse, I'm guessing, is a bit more reactive. It's like as and when, you don't need to think about it. So
very low maintenance, yeah.
Yeah, but someone might be looking at
love
this going,
it.
yeah, but someone might be looking at this going, holy crap, you know, Becca's really busy. How is she doing this? This isn't focused, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing, here's something I've come to realize is if you're someone that can manage multiple things, then manage multiple things. If you're someone that enjoys focusing on one thing, focus on one thing. What I like about this is that there is, you're balancing risk. If something doesn't work so well, something else is going to kind of come up. Some months, you know, during COVID, I'm sure one of these took a hit, whereas, you know, and then you were able to make money elsewhere. So this allows you to balance your risk. But I'm sure over time, as you move away from ballerina as a career, you may end up focusing, you know, the 80-20 rule where 80% of your time goes into one. But I love what you've done here. I love the transparency. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. So here's my very last question to you before you tell people where to find you is, share one piece of advice for, you know, other budding entrepreneurs who are going, I really want to make this work. And whether that's still being in your career, just like you're showing, you can start a business and still be in a career, still be in a 9-to-5 job and still grow a business. What's your one piece of advice you would share with other entrepreneurs who want to go out and do the same?
Resilience is your superpower. You know, be the epitome of resilience is my life tagline. I wouldn't have a career without it. I wouldn't have any of this without it. And so if you are looking towards these kinds of things, or whoever you're looking up to, and you know, you're a bit of a scrambled egg of how to get there, or predominantly something doesn't go your way or something doesn't go well, and you know, you lose interest. One, I would also reflect on how much you actually want it then, and how much does it actually mean to you, or you just like the idea of it. Be very, very clear. Like, do not waste your time with that. However, resilience will be your superpower. There's really not a lot that that anyone can't do in life. I'm not saying you can do, like anyone can do anything. Do I strictly believe that's true? Probably not. But there's not much that people can't do. There's not much anyone can't do. But if you don't have resilience, there's, you know, there's not much else left in the backbone. So I would say just one, be the epitome of resilience.
Love it, love it. It's so true. I've learned that in my business. So be the epitome of resilience. You've heard that here. So Rebecca, where can everyone find you?
I am Miss Becca Haw on, you know, Instagram, social media platforms, Miss Becca Haw, or www.rebeccahaw.com, and that would lead to all of these different businesses as well.
And we will add all the links to where you can find Becca in the notes below. So Becca, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. This is, love the transparency, got so much detail. Hopefully this inspires, I'm sure it will inspire tons of people. Yeah, have a great week and cheers.
Thank you, you too.